I've made like 2 videos so far about my journey here to Korea, but I realized that I never talked about like who I was and what I'm doing here, so this is the video for it. Hello, my name is Melissa and I am from Vancouver, BC, and I'm here to teach English at a private school in Korea. I just wanted to make a video about my process here, and like anybody who knows me is that I'm like super type A, do a lot of research, like schedules, blah blah blah. I've watched every possible video that is out there about how to, come to Korea, how to teach English here, whether that's through, EPIC, the English program in Korea, which is government funded, or Hagwon, which is private, or like any other possible opportunities. I've looked it all up. I watched every video. I've done a lot. And I just wanted to make a video for people who might have a similar experience to me, because despite watching all these videos, there were a lot of things that happened to me that was not talked about at all or touched on, like none of that. So I'm hoping that this is helpful for anybody that might have a similar situation to me, and just expand on it. So yeah, I'm going to read notes off my phone. Just ignore me if I'm looking down a lot. Okay, I guess step 1 is deciding what you want to do. So there is either EPIC or there's a Hagwon route. So originally I wanted to do EPIC. It was kind of like the obvious choice. It was government funded, less hours, and like there's more opportunity to explore, blah blah blah. So I applied through EPIC, and unfortunately I did get rejected. But they don't tell you why you get rejected. They kind of just go, sorry, try again next time, blah blah blah. I'm suspecting it's because I have tattoos. I know that tattoos are like a big no-go here. It's becoming more accepted, but it's still, because it's like a government funded program, they probably want people who have tattoos that they can either hide or not that big or whatever. When you apply for EPIC, you do have to submit photos of all and any tattoos that are visible and piercings. So I've got both, and I don't think they like that very much. But like I said, I don't know why I got rejected. I just did. Yes. I still really wanted to come to Korea to teach, so I decided to go the Hagwon route, the private school route, and I started looking at recruiters. I did look at all sorts of recruiters, and there's no maximum, or like you can talk to any recruiters you want. You can have as many as you'd like. So I just decided to go with one that was really popular amongst expats. I'm not going to say any names just because I don't want to be under any fire. So I went with a really popular one, and they were great. They were really helpful, and they were super diligent, and they were really responsive. Overall, it was a good experience until later, and I can get to that. So I did my initial interview for them to even want to like take me on, and I passed that. They started showing me postings and job listings, and they even have like a job board, so then you can like look at all of the jobs that are being offered, and if you liked one of them, you can show that you're interested, sign up for it, and then they'll cross-reference you with like their school, your profile, and then if they like you, then they'll request an interview, and then you just kind of go from there. Couple weeks go down, and I did get an interview with a school that was based in Seoul, like heart of Seoul, which is not where I am right now, but I got an interview and I ended up signing. So after that obviously comes the documentation process. Now, the documentation process was a total show for me. Like, absolutely horrendous. It was awful, and this is kind of the reason why I wanted to make the videos, because no one really talks about this possible situation, or like they always emphasize it, but like I want to emphasize it more. So the first thing you need to do is obviously you need to show that you have a bachelor's degree, which is 4 years of whatever program from a university. I majored in early childhood education, so I have that. And then you also need to do a criminal record check. So that can be done through the RCMP or police. I don't know what it's like in the States, but I come from Canada. So you go through the RCMP, or you can go through one of those businesses that are affiliated with the RCMP to do your fingerprints. So I did that. This place was great. Like, by no means was this their fault at all. But they used my ID, like my care card / driver's license, instead of my passport to sign up my name and to authenticate or to verify that to me. And unfortunately for me, I do have a Chinese name, and that is too long to fit on a BC ID. So part of my name is lopped off, whereas the full legal name is on my passport. So that causes quite the issue. So yes, I got my I'm clean for criminal record check back in the mail. It took about 2 weeks. And then after that, you want to get it notarized by a lawyer. So you go there, you say like, hey, I need this notarized. So it needs to be the original of your criminal record check. The criminal record check original needs to be authorized by your lawyer, and then also a copy of your degree needs to be notarized as well. And then once you get that all done, you send it off to Global Affairs in Ottawa. So that, I believe, is a new process to this whole thing. I don't think it was a thing before, and I don't know if it's because of COVID or they just decided that they needed more proof that these documents are legit. So you send it off to Ottawa, and because of COVID, all the waiting times have extended and took a really long time. And typically it takes about 2 weeks, maybe less. But this time, like on the website, it was like 17 business days, and I was getting really worried because I was running out of time. Then you also need to have an appointment at the Korean Consulate. Like, this is all a big waiting game with not a lot of time frame. So, and especially with COVID, it just takes a lot of time. I had an appointment. I didn't have my documents. It just took so long. Eventually, on the 17th day, I got my stuff back and I verified it with my recruiter, and I was like, hey, listen, there's a problem. So when you send your documents to get approved or authenticated by Global Affairs, you need to fill out a form of what needs to get done. So you need to be so specific with what you need to get done and stamped. I wrote, I needed to get the criminal record check stamped, which is the original, so you should be only sending one. And the copy of your degree that's notarized and verified, that needs to get stamped by Global Affairs. Do not write degree. It has to say copy. So unfortunately for me and my dumb butt, I wrote degree, expecting it to kind of like make sense. And I sent my degree to show them like, hey, this is legit. Like, keep in mind, I don't know what I'm doing. I like just try to be as diligent as possible. So I get it back, and it's my original degree that is authorized with the stamp from Global Affairs. It does not have it on the copy. And so I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? And like all the support groups that I'm talking to on Kakao was like, that's not right. Like, they should not be touching your original degree. Like, nobody should do anything to your degree. None of that. So I was freaking out. But my recruiter was like, no, it's okay because that's the original degree. Like, they're gonna accept it. It's no big deal. So I go to the consulate the next day, and I'm like, hey, like, I need to get these authorized, blah, blah, blah. And like, you also need to have your transcript. That's another thing, but that was really easy for me to change my name too. So a total of criminal record check, copy of your degree, and your transcript needs to all have your legal name. So for me, my transcript didn't have my legal name, which meant that my degree also didn't have my legal name, but that doesn't cause any issues as long as the transcript has your legal name. I should have said that before, but here it is. That was really easy for me to change though. So there's that. So I went there and they're like, yeah, your criminal record check doesn't have your legal name on your passport. Like, did you even read the website for what you need to get done? And I'm like, of course. Like, of course. I've done so much research. I've read everything, but I didn't even notice. I didn't notice, which was obviously my bad. But Yes. And then they were like, you don't have your copy of your degree stamped, so we can't even accept this. So basically, it was a big waste of time. I didn't do anything. Nothing got done. But they took my transcript and they cross-referenced it with my school, and they were like, okay, this checks out. You don't need to get another sealed copy of your transcript. Just bring this one back. This one's been stamped by us, but you need to come back with your criminal record check, the original, with your full legal name that's on your passport, and then your copy notarized degree. So I had to start all over again. I went to my recruiter and I was like, hey, listen, I couldn't get anything done, sir. What now? What do we do now? And she's like, maybe we should just start the process all over again. But the school is like, no, we need you here by like X date. And if you can't get here, we're going to have to find another person. And so I lost that job, which is honestly a huge blessing in disguise. I've not heard the best things, but you can find all of that stuff on Reddit. So then after that, because I lost the job, the recruiter suddenly was like really spotty, really flaky, like wouldn't respond. And like when they would respond, it would be like really half-assed answers. Like it wasn't anything like it was before. And I just felt like that wasn't cool. Like I didn't know what I was doing. And now that I've like failed once, you're just gonna cut me. Like that's not cool. So I just decided that I was gonna look at another recruiter. And so the recruiter that I ended up going with, I've looked into them before and they looked really great, and I applied a total of 2 times. I guess a total of 3 times, but the first 2 times I was not even looked at. Like they completely just didn't look at me, and that is because, and I've also heard this from a lot of people, and recruiters themselves have said it to me, that because I'm Asian or not like very obviously from America, an English-speaking country or whatever, they're not gonna want to take me on, because it's hard for Asian-looking people to find jobs in Korea, because a lot of people or families and parents find that if you don't look like you obviously speak English, like if you're not very obviously not Asian, they're not gonna want to take you on, because you could possibly be Korean. It's like, why would you be wanting to learn English from a Korean person in Korea? That's not what I think. It's just what I've been told. So like I've also heard that a lot of people who are Asian have a lot of issues finding jobs, even recruiters here. So it is what it is. But like thankfully I was able to get a job here, yay. Anyways, so I actually had a friend who was working directly with this recruiter, and I was like, hey, listen, like I'm not getting any bites. The recruiter I was working with before, like they're not talking to me. Like I don't even know what to do at this point. I'm not going to Korea. Like my dreams are just gone. I have to let this dream go. But she was saying that maybe she could talk to the recruiter like directly and be like, hey, listen, I have a friend who like wants to go to Korea, but like no one's taking her on, blah, blah, blah. So eventually she did talk to her. She did look at my profile. She found it and she was like, are you Korean? Are you Korean? Because my last name is also like a Korean last name, despite me not being Korean. Like, so I just assumed like, you must be Korean. I'm not. So she was like, oh, that's great. And then they took me on and they started sending me like, I didn't even have to do the interview process. They just took me on and started sending me like schools. And I eventually signed with a school that I'm signed with right now in like within a week of me talking to them. Like it was right away, and I have really, really, really good feelings about the school. I'm like really excited to start. I'm still in quarantine. So yeah, but that process itself took a really long time. So then once I got that school, it meant that I had to start this document process all over again. So I had to get my criminal record check done again. And this time I went directly to the RCMP and I told them what happened. And they're like, don't use anything besides your passport. Like just give us your passport. We'll make sure that the names are right. And I like was like so adamant about it. I was like, make sure my name is right. I do not want to go through this again. So they did that. And for some reason, this process took like for my criminal record check to come back took so much longer than before. And then I had to re-authenticate it, which cost another pretty penny, by the lawyer or notarize it by another lawyer. And then I had to send that off again to Global Affairs. And I was really specific with what I needed to get done. And I was like, the copy, the copy needs to get authorized. I didn't even send them my degree. So when I got that back, it meant that I had to go get a appointment at the Korean consulate. So this was another step. It was really hard for me to get a appointment to begin with because of COVID, and then like there's very limited amounts of time slots that they had to offer, and it was just like, it was really hard. And then I just like was obsessive over it. I just refreshed it every couple minutes and made sure that I like, oh, is it green? Is it green? Is it green? Eventually I did get it, and then I had to wait to get my visa, which meant that I had to send all of my now authenticated by the Korean consulate documents to Korea, to my school, so they could sponsor me. And so I did that. I sent it through DHL, and I got there like the next 2 days, I think. I sent it, they did the whole visa process, and I received it after like, I would like to say 2-3 weeks. And then that meant that they would send me an electronic version of my visa, so that I would take that paper and go to my consulate in Vancouver to apply for like the Canada side. I don't know how it works, but like it needs to meet in the middle. So Korea was like, yeah, she's fine. Canada needs to be like, yeah, she's okay, and to get my visa. So just getting that was already like another hurdle. So like I needed to get an appointment, and there were like no appointments at all for like the whole month, and only on Wednesdays, as of right now it's like this, but only on Wednesdays you can do walk-ins, but like it doesn't have any other specific details about that. It's just on Wednesdays we have walk-ins, and it's like, okay, sure, show up like an hour before, 2 hours before they open, and get in line. So like I showed up, unfortunately there was a lot of traffic, so I showed up right when it opened, and there was like a sign that said no tickets available. I'm like, what do you mean tickets? Like it's walk-in. So you needed to like show up hours in advance and wait outside, and then you would receive a ticket while you waited in line to even go in. So it's not really walk-in, it's first come first serve, get ticket and then go. So I went all the way to the consulate for nothing. And then they were like, your best bet is to get an appointment, which I like couldn't get. So then I like just obsessively checked it, and then by fluke, by total fluke, there was a green button. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get it. So I got it, and I just waited, and then eventually I submitted my thing. They're like, okay. And it's like a really long process just getting your documents checked by them to even put it through the visa process. So then they did that. They gave me a slip that was like, it would be ready by X date, come then. I went to go get it, and I did get my visa. It was fine. You check it over to make sure that it's like exactly the information that you need, and then you're on your way. And then I got my visa, and then you just talk to your school, and they bring you here, and then you quarantine, and then you're here. Yeah, but that's the process, I guess. Like, it was so hard. And not to mention that, like, when I sent my documents to Korea, and when my school like sent my documents to immigration to get it processed, to even start the visa process, it was Chuseok, so like Korean Thanksgiving, so they were closed for a couple days, and it was just super elongated. Like this entire process was a total of like 9 months. Yeah, like that's what I mean by like all the videos I watched, everyone's like, oh, this happened, and then you're here. It's like, well, I mean, yes, it could be like that, but it could also take you almost an entire year to get here. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video, I guess, to maybe possibly help people and like emphasize on the really important parts of like documentation and the process, and like finding a recruiter, I guess. Like, it might not be very informative, but I just rant about how my process was, but this is it. Like, I'm thinking that the next video will be about like the process of getting to your flight, to like when you arrive in Korea, and like the process through immigration. And that was also a shit show, like, yeah, and then getting into your apartment and making sure you have things in writing, making sure that you have like certain points really clear, and like getting a lot of information crystal clear before you even get on the plane, because that's another experience that I'm going to talk about. But yeah.